Welcome to the second episode of Out of Bounds, where I give my commentary on different topics in today's society. So, as you notice, this is the first episode on the new channel. Wanted to keep it in one spot, but hey, too many people were confused, so whatever, more work for me. That's fine though. So this is the new channel, so definitely going to grow it up and, try to spread the word and, just continue to upload as much as I can, these different episodes and talk about different things. And today, the topic is the art versus the artist. And this is a discussion that is very prominent in these day and age, but one that has gone back before when people talk about, can you separate the person that made the product or the art versus what they actually made. And so for me personally, it's a resounding yes, you can separate the art and artist. I don't think this is a subjective thing. Like, if you were to ask which one is right, then that's subjective. To each person, they're going to make the decision on what to do. That's a different conversation. I don't want people to confuse the two conversations. I'm not saying this is the right way, but I'm saying as far as the facts, can you separate art and artist? I think the overwhelming fact is you can. And, because people do it and I do it and a lot of people do it. So, you definitely can do it. Now, I'm not really going to argue which one is right because I don't think there's a right one. I think each person has to figure that out for themselves. But for me, when we had a discussion of separating art from artists, it gets back to this idea that people feel if you watch the art or any type of thing of that, then you are supporting. So I shouldn't say watch. So for instance, with R. Kelly. So if you still listen to any of his music, then you are condoning, things of that nature. Or if you watch a Kevin Spacey movie, you're condoning what he did. And that's one of the newer phenomenons in our society where, part of that extreme culture where people will act as if just because you try to look at someone's perspective or if you try to have a discussion about it, even if you don't believe in their side of the view, just to not outright, what's the word I'm looking for? If you don't outright say, or condemn it. There we go. If you don't outright condemn it, then that means you're condoning it. And it's like that extreme. So if I don't, completely burn all my R. Kelly related anything, then I'm condoning, any of his actions of what he did. And to me, that's just silly. So, for me, it's easy to do it because I don't feel that pressure. I don't look for other people to validate me in that way. So I understand that what's being given I'm going to react to it in whatever way I am. Now, your context, of your life is going to change what you like and don't like, of course, but still, I would say if I heard the song and it wasn't, or I shouldn't say that because that's still somebody singing, but let's say it's a movie and I watched the movie and, it was produced by Harvey Weinstein and we switched the name out and it was produced by, some other person. Is that really going to change the way the movie hits me? Or if you're listening and, to a song and we didn't tell you who it was. And so how do we rationalize that? Because the art and the way it hits you doesn't have a whole bunch to do with the artist as far as their personal, life, because they created this for you to experience, and that experience with that art isn't, commingled with, whoever the artist was. And then to that extent, so music is kind of more personal where it's like I'm listening to this person, but even then the people that produce it, the people that help finance it, all the people that, get equipment, you can go down that rabbit hole all day. Cause guess what? If you dig hard enough, you're going to find out that somebody somewhere in the circle did something that you don't agree with. And so then where does the line stop? Well, okay, if it's the main artist, I won't support it. But if it's, a third party financier who was involved in domestic abuse, oh, well, okay, that doesn't count. So where does that line stop? If we're going to sit here and say you have to completely, cut off all association, because these things aren't just created by themselves. And so there's always going to be support and to disseminate the art, whether it's movies, whether it's music, whether it's paintings, whether it's books, novels, anything. There's going to be other people involved to help get it out there. And so chances are somebody involved with the project or the art did something. And so how far do we go? That to me is one of the reasons why I feel like I don't mix the two. I mean, and the fact is we praise talent and for whatever we see as talent. So if you hear somebody and you're like, that sounds like a great voice to me, or you watch a movie and you're like, that's a great actor to me or actress to me, whatever, that is what you're praising because they're doing what not everybody can do. If everybody could, even, taking it to sports, if everybody could go out there and do what LeBron did, then LeBron wouldn't be making the money he makes. These people are looked at because they have rare talent. Does that excuse what they do? Not at all. But what I'm saying is that they have this rare talent. And so that's going to speak to you. That's the point of them being in that position, to act as if what they do personally now somehow diminishes their talent is ridiculous. I can say, as far as my personal view, I can say, wow, Kevin Spacey is a great actor. And then some people are like, wow, are you really going to sit here and condone a pedophile? I didn't condone. I didn't say he was right. Anything else of that nature. I never said any of that. But two things can be true at once. And I'll say that a lot in these podcasts. Two things can be true at once, and people tend to forget that. It can be true he has a great talent, and it also can be true that he is a disturbed person that is has predatory tendencies. All those things could be true at the same time. But again, people act as if you give any type of leniency, then, or any type of, acknowledgement of anything that isn't condemning it, then you must be condoning it. One of the examples that reminds me of was, I believe it was Erykah Badu. I believe it was her. And it was a little while back where she got some backlash because she was just talking about, there's positivity in all humans, or, there's something good, in everybody. You can find the good in everybody. And so somebody said, well, what's the good thing about Hitler? And then she mentioned that Hitler was a great painter. Now she's just stating, I couldn't say a fact because art is subjective. So you could look at it and not think it's a good painting, but she was stating a fact that he was a painter and that, people that saw it regarded it, a lot of, I would guess, experts regard it as good painting, or to her, she regarded it as a good painting. Whatever the case is, Hitler painted. And so people were just backlashing, saying, well, how could you say that? And it's like, she's not lying, though. She's not making something up. I mean, she's just acknowledging something true. But the fact that you acknowledged it was a big problem to everyone. And it's like two things could be true at once. The man, she never said everything he did was right, or that, his ideologies was right, or that excuses him of doing anything. And that's sometimes, or a lot of the time, what people get confused with. It's like, okay, well, acknowledging anything positive somehow excuses what they did, and no one's saying that. I can sit here and say that to the full extent of the law, these people can be persecuted. But I also can acknowledge that, whatever work they've done, if I love it or I like it, I like it. It's just what it is. Now, getting to the other point of people saying, well, it's tainted to me. And that's fine. Again, I don't think there's a right way. I think if you personally are affected, because again, it's subjective, art is subjective. If you are personally that affected, with the art because of the artist, then it is your right to feel differently, 100%. And then the other, question we talk about is supporting monetary, financing somebody that is, whatever as a person, whatever, case it may be. And to that, excuse me, to that, again, it's not condoning anything. I mean, I get funding things, or giving your money, who you choose to spend your money on. People take that very seriously. Some people are very, particular about where they put their money into, and that's perfectly fine. But the fact is, everybody isn't like that just in their day to day. Cause once again, we can look at almost everything we do in life and comb it and say, well, there's a problem here. There's a problem here. There's going to be something you don't agree with in the lines of everything you do. Now, again, does that mean you can't do it? Yes, you can. If you go through and you look at everything your money is going to and you make sure that every dollar is passing through hands that you approve, more power to you. The fact is, not most people do that. And so when it comes to this, if you say, wow, I know directly that's going to benefit R. Kelly, so I'm not doing it. Okay, cool. But then on the other side, I don't think it's wrong if you say, okay, that's not really what I'm doing. Especially if it's just like listening to now. The reason it's tricky is because the way that works is a lot more complicated than just giving someone money. It's not like you're walking up to the door of these artists and giving them money. So then you get into the conversation of, well, what if I'm listening to a song on YouTube, or what if I downloaded it, or what if I'm on Spotify or this, and then we could talk about, royalties, revenue, all types of different things. And I just think that's a personal choice, to be honest with you. I don't think, and it goes back to intention again, I don't think someone saying, well, I'm still going to listen to this song, I'm still going to watch this movie, I'm still going to read this book. I don't think that is always someone's intention, saying, okay, that's just me supporting that artist because of what they did. It's supporting the art. And again, the art can be good, so that we supposed to not act like we don't like it. I mean, there's so many examples. We could look at what happened with Pixar, and I believe it's his name, John Lasseter, and he got fired because of these accusations of his misconduct and whatnot in the office place, excuse me. And so they went through that whole thing and they ended up firing him. And so now we're going to say, well, any movie that he ever worked on, that's off limits. I don't like Pixar movies anymore. And so I don't think that's a logical thing for the entire human race to do. I think some people can have that capacity to do that and some people don't. And I think it's fine either way. And I think it's logical to be able to look at the artist and separate it and say, okay, this is a human being. This is whatever baggage, whatever issues, whatever they have that brought them to this point, and whatever they're doing in their personal life, that's what's going on. And that's messed up. This is what they created prior to me knowing, or maybe I had a rumor about it or anything else. And I'm still not going to sit here and say I don't enjoy it, or I don't have to, detach my enjoyment from that art, because that's what the art is. And it's kind of what art is anyway, where the artist might have something in mind. They might not have something specific in mind when they create something. But the fact is, once it's created and it's out there, everybody's going to receive it in a different way. It might never been the intention to make someone feel this or think this, but that's the way they received it. And as much as we talk about business and copyrights, when you put your art out there, it's owned by people and is taken in by those people in different ways than you might have intended. So, even though this person might have created something, with one thing in mind or with, whatever they have going on, that doesn't mean we're receiving it that way. And so, these things are kind of tough. I mean, I remember for me with Bill Cosby, that was the biggest one, still a big one to me. A lot of people had a lot of things about that. And again, it immediately came down to people like, well, you're defending him. And nobody was saying, well, I wouldn't say nobody, but I particularly in these conversations wasn't saying, well, okay, let Cosby, get a show, let him go tour or, do this. I wasn't sitting here saying any of that. I wasn't talking about his future opportunities. I was just talking about the things he has done. And I know Dave Chappelle spoke on this a little bit, in one of his stand-ups, but it is true. It's, again, two things could be true at the same time. And how do you reconcile that? A lot of people don't want to reconcile that. And that's why they sit here and act in extreme ways to say it has to be one or the other. But I believe Dave Chappelle told the story about how Bill Cosby, I forgot if they said like he paid for or donated the podium or something that Martin Luther King delivered his I Have a Dream speech. And so he was like, hey, how do you reconcile that with the same guy who did all these things to these women? And again, that's where it all comes down to me. Cause like we are complicated as humans. And as much as people want people to be all good, all bad, it's not true. It's a lot of gray in this world, and you can do terrible things and also do great things. That's within you, but a lot of people want to reduce people down to just villains and heroes. And I don't think that's the world we live in. I don't think that's where we ever lived in. And so I think about kind of what Bill Cosby meant to a lot of people's careers. I think about what his content meant to me personally, and I could never sit here and say I would give it up just because of what happened. Am I out here? I don't know. I mean, cause it's weird to me because even before it all happened, it wasn't like I was out here, preaching the Cosby word or anything. It was influential to me. And there's things I think about and that are attached to my childhood and upbringing, but it wasn't like, I was going door to door out here supporting, saying vote for Cosby or anything. So that's why it's weird to me that we can walk in this just, mundane, regular life with these, people. And then when a scandal happens, all of a sudden we have to be this militant, vigilant, let everybody know I'm not condoning them. And I'm like, I don't see why it has to be that extreme. For some people, it might be fine, but the fact that some people try to tell you it has to be everybody, I just think is kind of ridiculous. So yeah, I guess just end of the day, I think Cosby was a big, that's kind of what it started for me. And I think it was a good one because it really put it into perspective for me. If it was someone I didn't care about, someone I didn't know about, like Harvey Weinstein, I didn't know anything about him. Easy for me to just jump on that train of, oh yeah, you should say this and say that. But when it becomes someone someone in your circle or someone that you support or someone that has an impact on you, then you have to really reevaluate and reconcile like, okay, well, how do I go about this? And I've seen that, especially with the R. Kelly thing. Again, there's a lot of things that don't affect us. And it's easy to be on that, quote unquote, righteous side. But then when it's something that's in your house, then it's a little more complicated. And then you have a split where some people are like, F R. Kelly. And if you don't do this and this, then you're a pedophile. Like, what? I've seen people say that, accuse people of that heinous thing just because they won't say this about R. Kelly. And then you have the other people that are just like, you guys are crazy. Like, I get he's wrong, and I'm not, inviting him over to my house or, saying what's up to him. But at the same time, I'm not going to get rid of the music. And so that's kind of where we end up falling. And I think it's an individualized thing. And I think most people know that for the most part, cause you got your own thoughts and feelings when things happen. However, in our society, a lot of times, it's not about what you feel in respecting other people's feelings. It's about, okay, what I feel, and everybody that doesn't feel that way needs to feel that way. And if they don't, it's going to be a problem. And then we get into these whole debates because everybody wants to be right. And so there we go. So anyway, go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about the art versus the artist. Comment, thumbs up, subscribe, share it around. Please share it around. If you enjoy the conversation, you want more. And if you definitely, want some friends, to get their opinions and all that, please share it around. Everything is appreciated as we start this from the ground up. So, anyway, that's it for today, and until next time.